Hey there everybody, it's Carl and Erynn here, and we're going to do the backup with the guitar for a wonderful tune from Alabama, a fiddler named Everis Campbell, a tune that he learned from his great-grandmother, Steele Johnson, and it's in the key of C, which is always fun on the guitar, and it's called Caroline Johnson's Rag. Rags are always fun to back up, so we'll learn some good stuff, and we'll get Erynn to fiddle it for us right now. That sounds like a rag. That's wonderful. Good job, Erynn. Appreciate that.
All right. Have a
Thank
good
you very
time,
much.
guitar
Yeah.
players.
We'll dig into that a little bit. So we're in the key of C. And let's just think about, before we even do the backup of this, let's just think about the basic, we get to put the rag progression in there on the first part, and then it gets a little straighter. But the nice thing about this tune that works pretty well is we get to do the same maneuvers for both parts, mostly except the first part's endings has the rag progression, second part doesn't have it. So that's the main thing. But let's just look at the guitar for a second. Say we're in C here, so let's just find your C chord. Beautiful chord. It's always a wonderful key for the fiddler. A lot of happy tunes and kind of raucous tunes, but this is kind of a nice middle of the road, kind of a beautiful tune, I think. So let's just look at that C note on the 5th string, and just think about if you want to go around from C to A to D to G, which is what a ragtime progression would do. But let's just look at this from the 5th string, 3rd fret, then down to the 5th fret, 6th string, then back 5th fret, 5th string, and there. So let's just makes a little crisscross. So 5th string, 3rd fret, 6th string, 5th, and then back to the 5th string, 5th, and 3. So let's just practice that a few times. So you've heard that in thousands of songs, right? It could be, doesn't have to be all bluesy chords. It could be major chords or minor chords or bluesy or all those. So the one thing we're going to do at the ragtime progression at the end of the first part, let's just learn one shape and go ahead and have this at the ready. Just play your C chord for a second with your regular 3 fingers you normally would. And then a really good thing to practice on the guitar too is just shifting your fingers around. Let's just practice taking our bass note and getting that instead of with the 3rd finger with your 2nd finger, and take this one to take the other one's place. So it's like a little tag team. So I'm going from this chord, just going to those 5th and 4th string notes with the first 2 fingers. So here. So that's good to try with all kind of chords, changing fingerings. And you could, of course, go the other way. You could even do this, right? So you can do it with 3 different groups. Your first 2 or the middle 2 or the last 2. So that's a nice little thing to practice just for finger dexterity. Right? Go either way. Anyway, when we get down to the first 2 fingers, let's put the bluesy note and make a triangle chord there. That's just got our the root name of our chord, C, the major note, the middle of the chord, and then the bluesy note. If you pick the 3rd string open, you got the regular chord, 1, 3, 5, and going up to that bluesy note, you have a boogie woogie. So that triangle shape, let's just use that. So there's the name of our chord on the 5th string, and we can move that around on different strings, like the 5, 4, 3 is great. We could also move it down. Let's just jump to the bass strings, and you've got a nice G chord. So you got C7, that's a bluesy chord, and straight across the bass strings, a G7, a movable form. Pretty cool. So now, to do that little ragtime progression, one way we could do it is go to that C note, and then jump down to the bass strings, but go down to the A note, the 5th and 4th fret, and then go back straight across to a D and a G. So let's just try that before we even start our tune. It's going to be just strumming it there, C7, go to the bass strings and down to the 4th fret, 4 and 5, A7, D7, and G7. Pretty fun. So you can kind of get a little sock rhythm. You've heard that in countless songs, right? So that's a movable form. So that's going to come in handy at the first ending of our first part, okay? And then we're going to do almost the same thing with a different ending for the second part of the tune. So starting out here, let's just do, since we're getting good at thinking about a concept of pivoting, let's just try our C chord here, and then keep our 2-finger C here, and let's reach over and put that same bluesy note. Just try that a few times. So C and pivot. So we're just changing our bass note and adding the bluesy note in there, right? So our first part, you have that we're going to go with the C 5th string. I think what we'll do is maybe alternate, get a low bass with our 3rd finger first, and then go back to our pivot and add that bluesy C7. So that's our first maneuver. C chord, dancing to the low string, back to the 5th string, and now we're going to swing around and get the bluesy note. And the 4th string, our bass. Then our thing, I've added a little F to a G7 in there, playing our F chord, 4th string, and then I'm just going to get a nice bluesy note here for a G, and the 4th string can be a nice G7 using that 4th string, and back to our C. And at that point you can do a bass walk. So that's our first backup for the first part and the second part. So it's going to be 5 and 6, back to 5. We're going to swing around, get that bluesy note, F, and open 4th string with that bluesy 1st fret, back to C. Just alternate the bass. We'll do the same thing again. This time though, instead of doing the pivot, let's stay with the C and alternate the bass. And let's get a little, you need to keep the C. What we're going to do is walk down to that bluesy D7 triangle. We could use our different finger sets because we're getting good at that. And we can alternate the bass. So just know you have a C here. You just slide down, you have a D, but we're going to add that bluesy note in there. There's that triangle we're going to get adept with. And you can keep that and just get a bass. And then you can go to a regular G7, or you could keep a triangle, there, or add that bluesy triangle in there. So, and also you might even want a C7 here. I think what I have in the tab is going to be like coming around that C and putting a C7 in there, little finger, and you can just walk the bass up to D7, lower bass, and a G7, or you can get the triangle. So here's the first whole 2 lines that'll be on the guitar tab. So you have that, you could walk. Dance that bass 5 and 6, swing around, get that bluesy note, F chord to a open 4th string, bluesy G, C, and you can walk or whatever you want to do. You got room for something there. Dance the bass again. This time let's get that C7 little finger with a triangle. Slide 3, 4, 5, D7 triangle. Alternate the bass. You could let that 1st finger off. G7, or you could add the triangle back to C. So this first phrase again. Swing around, get that bluesy note, F, G7 again, and here it goes to F, so why don't we walk to F, and here's where we're going to get to go. Just dance that bass over. Now we're going to go C, A, D, G, the ragtime progression. So let's do the C, and let's go ahead and do our little triangle exercise. A7, D7, G7. That's the first part. Almost makes you want to tear up. It's so pretty, You need a rag to wipe the tears out of your eyes. It's so pretty. So let's try that whole first part. And the second part's going to be identical, except for our ending will not have that ragtime progression. So this is not going to be too bad. It'll be a lot of fun. And we may be putting more movement than you need. You have to experiment with that. I'm putting some walks in there. At first, when I was backing up Erynn, I was trying to do some more walks, chromatic, bluesy walks, but it got in the way of the melody, so I took those away and just swing around and keep the, we added a bluesy note, but I was trying to do, and that just got in the way of the melody. So be careful in your walks. If you get too fancy or do too much, it might not let the fiddle tune shine like the fiddler wants it to. So here's the first part of Caroline Johnson's Rag, and the melody really comes in on just like 1, 2, 3, a note, boom, boom, boom. And the guitar, when you come back around, you can do a 2-note walk, like a bass walk up to C. So I'll just start with the bass walk. So 1, 2, walking up. Here's the first phrase. Dance the bass, swing around for that bluesy 3rd fret. F to G7, open 4th string, and C. And you can just dance the bass or walk. So again, this time we're going to low bass, get the little finger for the bluesy C, scoot from 3 to 4 to 5, D7 triangle, alternate the bass, and get a G7, or walk back to the first phrase we did, dance dance that low bass, swing around to the bluesy C. So like a square dance, F to G7, C this time, we'll walk up to F. Dance that bass, the 5th string. Now here we're going to do the ragtime progression. C, triangle, 4 low, 5th string, D7, G7. Beautiful. Now the second part is going to be, we'll do the same thing, but the melody's there, it's going up. It goes up. With the same thing we did is going to work. C, D, 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 swing around to that bluesy C. F, G7, we'll do the same thing. And you can do quicker walks, you know. This time we'll do the same C7 and scoot up 4th and 5th, D7. And you can also chromatically walk G7, pretty cool. C again, dance the bass, swing around, C7, F, G7 one more time, C. Now here, just kind of dance the bass twice. It's back to the melody of the first part like that. So you have the same first phrase comes back, so we'll just stay in C. We're dancing that bass right here. Ba, 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 da, da, da. And we'll dance around just like we did the first. But this time we want, you could do a lot of different things. Let's do a regular D7 maybe, and a low G7. If you want to get fancy, yes, just keep in mind anytime you have a string shape that's movable, we could do our little swing around C7, take it up to D7, a whole step down toward the body. And we can even try a nice little triangle, you know, shape here. So it'd be here. We could call that kind of a zigzag. There's your 2-finger C chord down to a D, and you're adding the bluesy note. Just get used to what that looks like. And then here's a bluesy note. Remember, if you move from a D shape on the first 3 strings to the next 3, you got a bluesy chord, and that lowest note you're fingering is a bluesy note. You don't have a G in that, but it's a G7. So the end of that could be like that. Swing around, like we're here, and just going up that. Or you could go. So I'll do the whole thing kind of slow. And you can go back and play along with Erynn's fiddle video, or what we did earlier. She plays it twice, I think, on the teaching video, so practice that. And it's a lot of fun. And you can get kind of a sock rhythm going with these. When you're not, you can have these little triangles. You can kind of put a little push up on there. So you can practice that kind of stuff. So a lot of possibilities there. But remember, the nice thing about it, from that D7, when you alternate the bass, you can walk down too. That kind of stuff. Experiment with that a little bit. And remember, that's movable. If you don't use open strings, you can go here. So you can start, would you like to swing on a star? A lot of tunes will come to mind. So here's both parts we'll do for a second, and I'll let you just have fun in the key of C. And we got some nice concepts, swinging around that 2-finger C and adding a bluesy note, right? And we're doing the F to just the high 4 strings for F and G7. And then we got that ragtime walk from C to A to D to G. So first part. The second part, we're just staying on the C, and we swing up there to that bluesy note, and then we can either do a regular D7 to G7, or we can swing it down, take it a whole step, and get that nice added shape. So I'll try it that way. So here's both parts one last time. Hope you enjoy this. Caroline Johnson's rag. 1, 2... that bluesy note. Low bass and a swing to the bluesy. F, G7. Up to F. Dance the bass. Here's the ragtime maneuver. D7. That's the first part. Second part. Same maneuvers at first. Swing to the C7. F, G7, C. Bluesy C, up to D7, G7, swing around walk here, right? Stay here. You got that D7 low. Or you can do that, say I'm coming around the end, that you have that dance twice. You can go up to, I'm going to do the second part again. Remember the second part starts lower. So do 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 boom 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 boom. Sort of the same thing. Do 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 ba da da da. That bass twice, and here we go. And to end, let's just think about that D to G to C. Just one last fun thing to try. Doing that up on the high strings. You have, of course, a D7. Doing it with 3 strings. And if I went up, that's my D. I went up to here. A really nice thing to notice that we're doing when we move down to this D7 here. If you added let's see, I'm just going to swing my C over like we did to here. You could also swing over one more time and have this note. So just notice, let's go to D7, because we're going to go from D to G to C for our big finish. D7, if you take it up to the next shape, it's going to be a bigger triangle. Okay, we'll just look at 3 strings. If you go up again, it's going to be bar, bar, 8. And one more time, it's going to be up to just your regular D of 10, 10, and 8. If you want the bluesy note, I guess I said B. Let me look here, see what we do. I guess you'd have to get another string. So I'll do the 4 strings for you. Just there's your regular D7 with the 4th string. Then we go to that 2-finger shape we had for a C shape and move down with that bluesy note where I add the little finger. Cool. Then we're going to bar 7, 7, 7 and get an 8. And then we're going to go way up to 10 and adding that 11. And it's just a bar on 10, but you get the 3rd string 11. So listen to what those D7s sound like. So those same shapes, you could do a D7 and a G7. It'd be like this. And just a C chord there. If you go up to the next one, it's going to be here. And the G7 be here. If you keep going, it's bar 7, 7, 7. And then you're going to have that like a D7 scooted down. And then you could add, find your C. Get that sound. The last one will be up here. Anyway, so the end of the song might be a nice flourish just to do. Say I'll just do this one here, the 7, 7, 7, 8, and then that D7 shape with the 5th fret G, and maybe here the F shape. So we're coming out of that song. You're coming out. Where's the what? Finish, you might could add that D, G, C. So you got that. And you could do. Anyway, a lot of possibilities. I think it's a lot of fun. The key of C is great on the guitar, but just explore that little crisscrossing ragtime progression for fun. Try it in different keys, different string sets, and have fun, with this rag, Caroline Johnson's rag. I think you'll really enjoy it. Thanks a bunch.